Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time. This week we're going to be making this super cute snow globe tumbler. So without further ado, let's jump right in, and please be sure to like and subscribe. So to start, you're going to want a double-walled acrylic tumbler. Double-walled is important because that is what is going to separate the liquid from the actual tumbler piece. Then you are going to want to create your hole unless you buy the ones that already have the holes pre-made. I have tried drilling. I have tried using the hot glue gun. And actually this hot fix rhinestone tool has worked the best. One thing that I would do differently, you're going to see me put this pretty close to the edge. I would have put it more towards the center. Reason being is when I was finished sealing it and everything, it had a wobbly bottom. So luckily this snow globe tumbler is for me, so I'm not too worried about it. But if you're doing it to sell, I would definitely recommend putting your hole in the center where it divots. From there, I am going to take some painter's tape. I'm going to wrap it around the entire bottom, and then we are going to use our glitter mix. For this glitter mix, I used glitter from Maestra Creations, Once Deep in the Heart custom mix, and then 2 from Walmart. I used the iridescent and the winter test. It created a really pretty mix. From there, we're going to make our solution. Now, I have tried a bunch of different liquids. This is now my third. I have tried baby oil. I have tried the Magic Liquid Elmer's with distilled water and the glycerin with water. Now, while I am happy with how this turned out, I probably will not use this mix again. And I'm going to tell you why is either my ratio was off, something was off with the glycerin and the distilled water mix. And when everything settles, I have part of it settle in the bottom and then part of it settle up at the top. So it just looks a little wonky. Again, this is for me, so it's not really that big of a deal, but I definitely wouldn't recommend if your mix is separating like that to send that out to one of your customers. I will tell you, I love using the baby oil for my snow globe pins, but not one of my favorite things to use from a snow globe cup perspective. And I also wouldn't use the distilled water and glycerin mix. I actually really like the liquid magic from Elmer's glue with distilled water. And you just mix that until you have the thickness that you want in your mixture. And it creates something really beautiful. I use that mixture making one for my daughter, and it's one of my favorites. But anywho, enough about mixtures. Once you've got everything put in, you're going to want to seal your cup. Now, you saw me take a sheet of acetate and trace the outline of my hole, and then I just use UV resin that I got from the glitter guy in one of my sub boxes many moons ago to seal that in. From there, I'm going to take our glitter mixture. I'm going to add some more UV resin, excuse me, and get that all over the bottom until it is nice and cured. From there, what I decided to do, just to add a little more pizzazz, because I decided that I was going to keep this snow globe cup for myself, is I used the mix Lost Princess from PDB. It's currently not available on their sites, but it is definitely one of my favorite mixes that they create. And I am going to do and rhinestone the lid, as well as I'm going to add a drip template, and we'll get into that. But we're going to rhinestone that as well. So one thing that I would say is when you're rhinestoning, The top part, I used the honeycomb method so that everything fit nice and neat. And so what that means is that I'm putting down one row, and then when I start my next row, I'm going to simply put it into this, like the in-between parts. Um, and this will create a nice even line. Um, and I'm going to continue this all around the cup. I also would highly, highly recommend putting on your lid. The reason for this is that the lid is going to help kind of serve as a guide so you know how far or how um, low before your lid meets the actual tumbler itself. This is also helpful when you're applying your template for your drip design. This way you just make sure that everything, like your rhinestones, aren't bumping into one another. I'll tell you to rhinestone the lid and rhinestone the drip. Probably took me about an hour and a half total. So it wasn't too bad time wise. But I would highly recommend like put on one of your favorite shows, um, binge watch your favorite YouTuber, anything like that. It will definitely help the process go by a little bit faster. Um, so, anywho, on to our next step with the drip. So, I went into Creative Fabrica. You guys all know it's my absolute favorite. And I found this drip SVG template. From there, I simply downloaded that into my files so that we could upload it into Design Space for my Cricut. Once I was able to locate the file that I wanted to download, I simply uploaded it in and made sure that I had it sized accurately. And then I just used regular Oracal black vinyl. Hindsight, I wish that I would have used like a blue or maybe a lighter color, just because the rhinestones really did pick up on that vinyl from underneath. So just be mindful of that when you're doing it, even as um, like a pattern to follow. You're going to want to be mindful of the color that you're picking, just so that you know you have a cohesive design. Again, this cup is for me. And it was really just to try something new and different. So I wasn't too worried about it matching. But again, if this was for a customer, would have done it totally different. Once we have this all printed and not printed, cut out, we're going to go ahead and we are going to apply our drip decal onto our cup. So again, I do have my lid on my cup. This way I make sure that I'm not having rhinestones run in, anything like that. Now, some things that I learned while I was doing the drip. First, always start at the top. This is going to make sure that you have got a straight line going all the way across. And for the drip, because I didn't have all the same stone sizes, I used the scatter method. So the way the scatter method is different from the honeycomb is honeycomb, you're using all of the same size stones and you are fitting them into the grooves or the open space of the two top stones. The scatter method, you are using multiple different sizes, um, and you're kind of Tetrising them. So you're fitting them in where they can. This was helpful when it came to the drip because as you can see, these drips are not the same size. They are not, um, it would have been pretty difficult to try and get all the same size stones honeycombed in. Um, So I just felt like the scatter method was definitely the better way to go. But the way you go about the scatter method, sorry, I digress. The way you go about the scatter method is you're using all sorts of different sizes of the stones that you want, from SS3s all the way up to, I think the biggest one I had here was an SS16, maybe an SS20 for those big guys. And then you are literally finding a spot for them and filling in the blanks. Now, once we get down to the drip, what I will tell you is work in small sections, and I would work one drip at a time. And the way I went about it was I just started, like at first I started by outlining the drip, but I found that it was just better to uh, find the stone that fit best in those spaces versus outlining and then trying to fill them in. But while this is super sped up, you can kind of see like my process and what I'm doing here. Rhinestoning is pretty repetitive. But once you get into your groove, it is super relaxing and just a great way to kind of zone out and get lost in a project that's going to turn out super, super pretty in the end. I am going to go ahead and let this play through for you guys, and then we'll pick back up at the next step. And once we got that finished, we were done. I hope you guys found this helpful. I would love to see any rhinestone projects that you guys have. So please be sure to follow me on social and tag me if you do. And thank you guys so, so much. I will see you back here next week.